they'll lynch you. But he did, and he laughs at
Hi, everybody. Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope West Ham website, West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. Happy Saturday. Hope your Saturday morning's going well. Hope you got the bacon sandwich on the go, or a nice bowl of muesli. Don't know where that's come from. And a nice cup of coffee. It is West Ham. It's the Daily Show. And what we try and do with the Daily Show, just give you a few bits of news that have been sort of swirling about the last couple of days, a bit like Hammer's headlines, but in the morning, so it sets you off on the right foot. Obviously, West Ham can't ruin your weekend until Sunday when we travel to Brentford at the community stadium. It's a game I could really do without, I'll be honest, particularly with the AZ Alkmaar second leg on Thursday. I think it'll be a heavily rotated side from us, and that means it'll be a disjointed game. You might have a couple of players sort of trying to stake their claim for the second leg, so that's not a bad thing. But yeah, I could do without the game. But we'll have all the previews and reviews and starting 11s and watch alongs, all that type of stuff in the next day or so. To keep an eye on the channel and make sure you subscribe by hitting the bell notification so you don't miss anything either. Maybe become a channel member. But we've got the Daily Show. 3 stories, 1 transfer rumour, 1 about money, and 1 about an impending or a possible new name to this whole sporting director saga that we've been having in the last couple of weeks. So you remember a couple of weeks ago, we spoke about the Sport Blin article, which stated that West Ham had apparently asked St. Louis City sporting director, or asked St. Louisville City, the MLS side, for a permission to talk to their sporting director, Lutz van der Speek, about a possible position at West Ham. And this opened up that can of worms. You know, what's happening with Noble? What's Noble going to do? What role does Rob Newman play? What will Rob Newman play in terms of a role going forward? What about David Moyes? What about Sully? Sully's not happy with how the money's been spent. So it's all this sort of above the parapet, you know. If the team's like there, you know, it's above the parapet. All the stuff about, you know, who's going to be leading the recruitment and stuff like that, and and what's Lutz going to do. And this Lutz is a bit of a charlatan, and he's got, you know, he's played for 25 clubs, every federation in FIFA. He's been done for match fixing, you know, would fit in straight perfectly into West Ham. But another name has been added to the pot, so to speak. Reports from Italy and Spain have suggested that apparently we are trying to approach the Roma general manager, Thiago Pinto, for a role within the club. So, you know, similar thing to this discussion about Lutz, for example. Now, that name might sound a bit familiar to you. If you go remember when Nobes first took over officially as sporting director, he did an interview with the Evening Standard shortly after that, and he revealed he'd actually been talking to and reached out to a number of other people in similar positions, other clubs around Europe and the Premier League, in an effort to sort of learn more about the job, what it entails. And that included Roma and Pinto. Nobes was quoted in saying, "I've spoken to Thiago at Roma and Paul Mitchell at Monaco. There's been a few, they've texted, and I said if you ever need any advice, come out and see how it's done. In terms of being a technical director, these boys have a lot of experience than me, so why wouldn't I want to get better? We all do it in different ways, and I do it my own way." Now, as I said, the reports claim that apparently West Ham are trying to coax Pinto to join the club in the summer. He's been coveted for his work in bringing players on the cheap. For example, in Benfica, when he was manager at general manager at Benfica, and went on to sell for hundreds of millions of pounds. And the same true with Roma. Obviously Roma won the Europa Conference League last year. They're through to they're in the semi-finals this year. In fact, Gianluca Scamacca was at the Roma game on Thursday rather than being at the London Stadium, as he's obviously rehabilitating from his surgery in Italy, and Roma's his club, although he didn't leave in the best of terms as a player, let's just say that, but it's still a club that's very close to his heart. Now, it's not really one of his success stories, but he brought Tammy Abrahams over from Chelsea, and now he's done very, very well at Roma, and obviously they're on the cusp of Europa League final this season. If they win that, they could win the Champions League. Now the reports state that Roma are shaking up their management structure next season, which has sparked public grumblings from the current boss, Mourinho. I forgot to spell his name then. Jose Mourinho. What an idiot. And Pinto was actually brought in from Benfica in, I think, around the late 2021, early 2021, and he's under contract at Roma until next summer. And so that's where sort of the trail goes a bit quiet and a bit cold, to be honest. What does that mean about Noble? Is anyone's guess. I mean, with that, reports of Lutz as well. I don't think Nobes would want to take an ambassadorial role at all. I think, if anything, his role, for me, is quite clearly the link between the first team and the academy. The way I see it at the moment is you've got the academy and Kenny Brown doing a great job, 21s and 18s. In fact, we should have Mark Robson, the under-23 coach, / under-21 coach, former West Ham player, on the channel next week doing a Miami's 11s. Keep an eye out for that. So you've got there, and then you've got the first team. But there doesn't seem to be a join between the two. And I think that could be Nobes' role, and having some same recruitment in terms of understanding what is coming through from the youth team when they're discussing targets and stuff like that. That to me seems a sensible role for him. I think at the moment, sporting director is a big role for him to take, and he's learning the role. But clearly, the academy is something he loves doing. We've had interviews with Mark Phillips, the under-18 coach. Nobes is there every day. He's at Channel Heath every day. It's called the Mark Noble Arena, for fuck's sake. So I think that's what he could do, rather than being seen to oversee recruitment. Could mean that Rob Newman's gone in the summer. Who knows? An interesting side note about Thiago Pinto. Thiago Pinto became Roma general manager in, I think it's 2020, 2021, sometime like that. The manager at the time was one Paulo Fonseca. Now, obviously, Paulo is one of a possible list of David Moyes candidates. 2 and 2 make 4 potentially. Is it too convenient? Although part of me gets a little bit of Pellegrini Huselos vibes by it, but the fact is Pinto's done a good job at Roma. He wasn't with Fonseca at Benfica. I don't believe he was. No, he didn't manage. Fonseca didn't manage in Benfica, I don't think. We did a whole show about him like last week, about who he was, all the teams. He's managed quite a few teams, Fonseca has. No, I don't. It's Porto he managed, wasn't it? Longfoot. Let me just check. It wasn't Benfica, was it? No, it was. It was Porto, Braga. That was it. Braga. That's the one I was thinking of. Benfica. Yeah, Porto, Benfica, and Pacos Ferreira as well. So they've been in the same world for a while in terms of the Portuguese, the Premier Liga, and so maybe, just maybe, whether it's chicken and egg, whether it's but. I'm just putting it out there. It's a bit convenient, isn't it, in my eyes? Right, let's talk about money. Let's talk about the Europa League, go for Conference League and the Europa League next year, hopefully. So apparently, based on earnings and what we could do in terms of Europe, West Ham are on course to earn a total of just shy of £40 million if we win the Europa Conference League this season. That's some compromises of around 17.5 million in prize money, and a further £20 million for qualifying for the Europa League 23-24 season. As you well know, by winning the Conference League, you go into the Europa League, and the same that if Roma won the Europa League, they'll go into the Champions League, and obviously they won it last year, the conference. Now, what's interesting is if you look at how much Newcastle will earn from their involvement in the Champions League. Remarkably, Newcastle, who are 12 points above West Ham, 3 games to go, looks like they're going to be in the Champions League next year, will actually earn more money than them. Obviously, we are currently in the first leg. Well, we've just played the first leg. So we've got the second leg of the semi-final coming up next Thursday. Victory over those 2 legs would guarantee us an extra £2.7 million in prize money, rising to £4.4 million if we lift the trophy on the 7th of June. That's on top of the around £13 million we've banked on the route to the semi-finals, made up of basically our fee of entering plus the pool payout and the sort of the coefficient based windfall and the performance related bonuses. So if you win games, you get a number, and because you've got a high coefficient score than others, you get more money in the payout basically as well. Now, as I said, that on top of a minimum of about £20 million for Europe next year, based on the fact is we go straight into the Europa League group stages, and that's if we don't win any games. But then we get the coefficient payoff. That's literally the participation fee. Really, we'll get money for each draw, each victory you get in the Europa League, plus qualification to the next round. That comes to around about £30 million altogether. About £40 million altogether. Newcastle will earn just £27 million for their as an entry point for their Champions League term next year. Although that too like to be supplemented by performance related bonuses. That means West Ham will effectively earn more than Newcastle for qualifying for Europe, at least before a ball is kicked next season. Although I don't think they're scrabbling around for pound coins down the back of the sofa at Newcastle, let's be honest. So despite being a lower tier competition, we'll actually be earning more than them, which is quite an unusual thing. Newcastle have a relatively modest initial payments, mainly because of their low ranking in the coefficient 10-year coefficient table. Obviously, last year we got to the semis and we done well this year, so our coefficient score goes up a little bit. And I mean, they'll likely earn about £3 million from the coefficient pot, while the top ranked sides in the Champions League will take home roughly 32 million. That's the disparity in terms of, and it does favour obviously the bigger teams in the competitions. But just interesting, I thought an interesting tidbit of information. But as I said, I don't think they're really strapped for cash at Newcastle, so not much of a massive deal for them. And then we'll finish on the transfer story. It's going to be the saga that encapsulates this transfer window coming up. There's 2. One is the Moyes saga, and the second one is Declan Rice. Now, we could, Thursday was potentially a penultimate time we saw Declan Rice in a West Ham shirt at the London Stadium. The last, game could be Leeds next Sunday. And one of the names we've been linked with heavily is the Marseille midfielder, Matteo Guendouzi. And according to several sources, including, for example, the CBS journalist Jonathan Johnson, he said that Marseille resigned to losing him in the summer. A bit like we are, to be honest, in terms of Declan Rice. L'Équipe have reported that the Hammers are lining up a move for the French international midfielder if Rice leaves this summer. Apparently, a fee of around £35 million is expected to be enough to get the deal over the line. But we do face stiff competition from Aston Villa for his signature. I mean, we're expected to have a war chest, or the Declan Rice war chest of around 100 million, something like that. And a move for Matteo, it does tick a lot of boxes, let's be honest. I mean, without Deck in the middle, Moyes, whoever the manager is, will be short of options. We've got Souček, we've got Paqueta, we've got Downs, still got Connor Coventry, he'll be back. Are only these sort of alternatives, really. I mean, Guendouzi has, since leaving Arsenal, he's become a better player, if that makes sense. I think people see Guendouzi as in his Arsenal kit, but actually since moving to Marseille, it's highlighted his versatility, not just for Marseille, but for the French national side over the last couple of years. He can play defensive midfield. He can play in the more attacking areas. Obviously, he knows his mates with Zuma. He would have played with Naya Figuered. He would have played against against Paqueta as well. He would have played against Emerson last year as well. He would have been in the training camps and played alongside Areola as well. So there's a lot of French boys there. May would have played against Kira as well for PSG. The Frenchman was highly rated at Arsenal. A little bit of a joke player, some people may have said sometimes, but he's moved from strength to strength since leaving the Emirates in almost 3 years ago. Really, 35 million pounds seems a bit of a no-brainer, particularly if we get a sizable fee for Declan Rice, even if it's a sizable fee plus a swap deal play. If it's, it won't be, but say Chelsea offered us 80 million plus Conor Gallagher, for example, that's that, and then you can go out and buy, Matteo for 35 million. You still got the best part of 50, 60 million to invest in the side. That doesn't seem like a bad thing to me. The only thing is the Aston Villa link. Matteo played with played under Unai Emery when it was at Arsenal, so they have that sort of history. And potentially Villa might not qualify for European football. They might not. We might not. So we'll wait and see what happens in the summer. But there's loads of names we've been linked to. We'll do a proper show, I think. There's about 20 odd names. The likes of James Ward-Prowse, the likes of Milenkovic-Savic. What's his name from Valencia? Former Arsenal player, Usame Musa. There's loads. So we might go and do sort of the runners and riders of who could be Deck's replacement. But maybe we'll keep an eye out for that for later on in the closed season, we'll say. And that's it, my friends. That's the daily for today. So keep an eye on the channel. Loads of stuff coming up over the next couple of days in preparation for the Brentford game. And then once that's out of the way, it's all roads to Amsterdam, isn't it? Plus, hopefully, we'll have Mark Robson on next week doing a Miami's 11. We've got another couple of cracking West Ham players coming up soon, and other guests as well, celebrity fans. So make sure you stay in the channel. We're this close to 16,000 subscribers. Be nice to get that before the end of the season, hopefully well above that by the end of the season. But if you are new, please subscribe. It does really help us out, and hitting the bell notification and making a comment, positive, negative comment. We read them all and we take them on board. We try and, with the channel, we try and make it open for everyone. So if you've got there's conflicting opinions and differing views all over the place, whether it's in the lives, in the comments, but that's the whole point, because we are, regardless of what that is, we all support the same club, and it's all about that badge or that badge or that old badge, that badge. That's a really old badge. That's what all joins us together. So take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, enjoy your Saturday. Sunday be ruined by West Ham. Much love. Bye.